We do not know what these objects contain. Remaining near them poses substantial risk to life. The armed forces will soon cordon off these areas. Objects have been claimed to have crashed into London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, Leeds, Belfast, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Dover, and Felixstowe. Avoid these areas. It is likely they have been highlighted to cause maximum damage to life, property and infrastructure. Evacuate in a calm manner. Chaos and panic will hinder evacuation efforts and threaten life. Emergency public transport will soon be available for those that do not have a vehicle. A limited number of buses and trains will be available. You will be informed via SMS where these services will stop and the approximate time of arrival. We will once again update you when more information becomes available.
27 minutes later.
We can now confirm that the spacecraft's estimated time of arrival in Earth orbit is 3 hours. They are believed to be highly weaponized and hostile. Major population centers are expected to be destroyed. The United Nations has now declared a global emergency. Planet Earth is now at war. Evacuate major population centers. Percentage chance of death in a major population center is near 100%. Spacecraft are expected to converge on them and begin aerial bombardments. If you cannot evacuate, seek shelter underground. The armed forces are now currently beginning to set up shelter zones in London, and the same will soon occur in other cities. If you cannot evacuate London, begin preparing your shelter supplies immediately. You will require at least 7 days' worth of food, water, clothing, medical supplies and toiletries. These will not be provided for you.
Damn it.
Expected that strategic military and transport targets will be attacked. Non-military personnel near military checkpoints or major airports and seaports should evacuate the area immediately. We are now receiving reports of a thick black fog appearing across London, Cardiff, and Felixstowe. The cause is currently unknown. If you are still in these areas, evacuate. It is possible this fog will soon appear in other major population centers across the country. If this does occur, it is possible that safety zones will temporarily close their doors to protect those inside. You will be informed via SMS if this is the case. It can be assumed that this is the first attack from the incoming extraterrestrial invaders. We have received reports of cylinders landing in various major population centers across the world. Confirmed sightings have occurred in New York City, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Paris, Berlin, Madrid, Sydney, Tokyo, Seoul, and Sao Paulo. Militaries across the world are now on high alert. The United States has now entered Redcon 1, their highest level of military readiness.
8 minutes later.
The spacecraft's estimated time of arrival in Earth orbit has been revised to 2 hours. It is possible the spacecraft will destroy satellites in orbit and that they could crash onto the surface. Seek shelter underground. Even those in rural areas should avoid being out in the open. Being sighted by the invaders will threaten your safety. Be silent and hard to see. Children and pets should be kept calm and quiet. Noise is danger. We are receiving reports of plumes of black fog appearing in the following areas: Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Dover, and Edinburgh. We are also receiving reports of people exposed to the fog reporting the following symptoms: sweating, nausea, blurred vision, vomiting of blood, dizziness and loss of consciousness. Those within a 25-mile radius of those cities should evacuate, unless in a safety zone. It is likely this fog will spread beyond these cities, and so it is imperative you avoid them. We can now also report blockages on various motorways throughout the country. Several cars have been abandoned between junctions 7 and 8 on the M25, and tailbacks have now reached 2 miles long. A crash is obstructing traffic between junctions 7 and 8 on the M1, and cars are currently being abandoned en masse. Several crashes have occurred between junctions 10 and 15 on the M60. These areas should be avoided. Driving on them is impractical and will threaten your safety. If you are in or around these areas, find alternative routes or shelter in place underground. Stay tuned to your local radio station for consistent updates on road conditions. We can confirm that safety zones in London have now closed. Those who do not have a shelter should find a suitable underground location to seek refuge in. If this is too dangerous, shelter in place. Close all windows and curtains, turn off all lights, and block all exposed areas to prevent the fog from entering. Hide as best as possible. If these zones reopen, you will be informed via SMS. The spacecraft's estimated time of arrival in Earth orbit has been revised to 1 hour. Evacuate major population centers immediately. A dangerous black fog is currently spreading in these areas at a rapid pace. Our information indicates that prolonged exposure to the fog is lethal.
Some death.
Shelter zones in the London area are closed indefinitely. You are advised to evacuate to a safe, rural and underground location. If this is not possible, shelter in place. Close all windows and doors, cover gaps under doors and vents to prevent the fog from entering your home, and hide in a small, concealed area. If you are driving, avoid motorways. Our information indicates that several crashes have rendered them unusable. This may also apply to major roads. Tune into your local BBC radio station for up-to-date information on road conditions. Those in rural areas should seek a place of safety immediately. It is possible the fog will also spread to these locations. Staying in the open also leaves you vulnerable to an aerial attack. Emergency services will guide people to places of safety. Once there, make minimal noise and remain there unless told to leave by the emergency services. We can confirm that shelter zones in Edinburgh, Manchester and Birmingham have now closed indefinitely. Toxic fog is rapidly spreading in these areas and as such, these zones have been closed to protect those currently there. If you are not in a shelter zone, evacuate away from major population centers. If you cannot do this, shelter in place. The spacecraft's estimated time of arrival is now indeterminate. The United States Space Force has now confirmed that the spacecraft is rapidly increasing speed and as such we do not know when it will arrive. Major population centers across the Earth are likely to be destroyed. It is now too late to evacuate to a shelter zone, or to a rural area. You must shelter in place. Close all windows and doors, cover all vents and door gaps, and hide in a small, concealed area, ideally in an underground area like a basement. Make as little noise as possible. It is possible extraterrestrial life will land on the surface and begin searching for other life forms. Keep children and pets as calm and quiet as possible. If you cannot guarantee that your pet will remain quiet, you should release it. Noise is danger, and the lives of you and your families must come first. Do not leave your home under any circumstances. Do not leave your shelter or hiding place unless instructed to do so by emergency services. It is recommended that you arm yourselves in the event of discovery by extraterrestrial life. Use a weapon only as a last resort. Satellite imaging has indicated that the large spacecraft heading for Earth has launched an unknown quantity of smaller crafts. We anticipate that these will be much faster than the main craft. It is expected that they will converge on several major population centers and begin destroying life and property. It is unknown when these crafts will arrive on Earth. Seek shelter immediately. Failure to do so will result in almost certain death. Major cities are expected to be leveled by aerial bombardment. Toxic gas has engulfed major population centers across the Earth and it is expected that hundreds of thousands are already dead. We anticipate that this broadcast will cease when the attack on London occurs. Skeleton crews working from secure locations will attempt to provide essential information via radio and SMS. Wi-Fi and cellular data providers will keep their services running for as long as possible to provide essential information. You are still advised to carry a battery-powered or wind-up radio to use, should these services be rendered unavailable. This should only be used as a last resort, to avoid drawing attention to yourself. If you are sheltering in place, be prepared for an extended stay in your shelter. It is not known when you will be able to leave your shelter. Ensure you have a supply for food, water, clothing and hygiene supplies to last a minimum of 7 days. We have received information indicating that various satellites have been destroyed by incoming craft. It is possible that debris will soon start falling back down to Earth. You are once again urged to seek shelter underground. If you are not inside a building, seek shelter now. You are not safe outside. If you are in a tall building, move towards the lowest part. The armed forces have now cordoned off major population centers. If you are still there, they will direct you to a place of safety. The United States Space Force has confirmed that the International Space Station has been destroyed. This indicates that extraterrestrial contact with Earth is imminent. Prepare for a shockwave blast when the spacecraft makes contact with Earth's atmosphere. Avoid external windows as they may shatter. Shelter in place immediately. Stay calm and silent. An attack on planet Earth by an extraterrestrial force is now imminent. The large, technologically advanced militarized species is expected to arrive on Earth and destroy life, property and infrastructure. Major population centers will be destroyed imminently. It is too late to evacuate them. Shelter in a concealed underground location immediately.
Planet Earth has been offended. Said what? I'm tired, guys. I said I'm gonna take a nap.